All right. Welcome to the Friday, November 7th, 2025, regular scheduled Kirkwood Meadows Public Affairs Board meeting. Let's start with Paul.
Uganda
Here.
Epstein,
Present.
Joe Sugar,
Here.
Hoover, here, Robert here.
Here. Announcements.
We would like to welcome everyone to the regularly scheduled board meeting. If you're attending online, please use the raise your hand function. If you're here in person, please go to the podium so our speakers can pick you up.
Also, will you voice those today? Here in person. All right, let's go to agenda item number 4, corrections to the agenda or the consent calendar. Okay. Hearing none, let's move on to agenda item number 5, comments from the audience. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board on any short non-agenda items that are within our jurisdiction. We cannot take action or discuss them. They're not listed on the agenda per the Brown Act. See, you want a hand up? Go ahead.
There, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Thank you so much. Hello, President Meritananda, board members, and Chief Ansel. I'm Brittany with Optimize Investment Partners, a firm that works exclusively with small to medium-sized municipalities in California. Our preliminary analysis reveals that Kirkwood Meadows Public Utilities District could generate approximately $80,000 in additional interest income over the next 12 months through optimized portfolio management. We currently serve 26 municipalities where we've innovated the outdated standardized approach with customized comprehensive cash management. Our methods typically achieve 90 to 95% portfolio utilization compared to the industry standard of 50 to 60%, unlocking significant revenue potential. A question that we often hear is, how does OIP keep our money safe? We understand the concern. With over 20 years of municipal finance experience, we honor the California Government Code, ensuring safety, liquidity, and optimized returns. And with our 30-day termination clause, your district has very little to lose in exploring this partnership. So our ask is simple. Visit our website, which I'll email to you shortly, to learn more and review our client list to see who else has optimized their portfolio. Additionally, please encourage your management team to accept the meeting request in the email so that we can walk through exactly how we can serve the district. Please look out for my email, and thank you for your time. I look forward to connecting with you soon. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Brittany. Happy weekend as well.
Thank you.
Rick, normally we hear through these speakers, so it's not.
They should be
Mechanically and software.
yeah, the speakers are on. You want to no, see if she's got a clue why these are not working today.
Okay. Going with public comment. Any other comments from the public? I don't see anywhere in the room here. Any other hands up, right?
No, not this time.
Okay. I'll note that we do have written reports that are related to a specific agenda item that we will see in that agenda item later. Okay. Let's go to item number 7, adoption of the consent calendar.
Move adoption of the consent calendar.
I'll second that. All right, all in favor, indicate with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the consent calendar has been accepted. No items were brought forward for item 8. So we'll move on to 9. So 9A is Fire Emergency Medical Services Survey results. That's around page 30.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I guess I will start with just an overview and a reminder of where we are with Fire and Emergency Medical Services. Because I know not everyone necessarily attends all of our meetings all the time, so there's a lot to keep track of here. Over a year ago, we started engaging in the process here to get some opportunities to be able to have contracted services into the district. We worked with Amador County, Alpine County, and South of Tahoe as well. And we went forward after conversations with Alpine County with a proposal that's been approved by their board of supervisors for a budget. We did an engineering report this past summer, 2025, in order to understand how actual allocations would get distributed to each property owner for each property that we have in Kirkwood. So then that way, at the end of the day, we could ask our customers what their perception is and what they think about this option of having contracted services in Kirkwood. And so it's a very short overview, of course, of where we were going to, but this survey is intended to get that sentiment from the community. We really heard loud and clear a couple of years ago, all the feedback that we wanted to get here. And we've been doing our best to be stewards of that feedback and go through the process to make sure that we've explored options and that we have gone through and given as real of a capability of what you would have to pay for the level of service that you would be getting under this proposal. This survey is informal. It is not the actual election of a decision on the outcome of whether or not we would be able to go forward and fund contract services via the 218 process, because this is not the 218 process. This is just an informal survey that we sent so that as a board, we can understand the community's sentiment. And so it was open for 2 weeks and the results are in here. That's a quick overview of where we are. And then, the idea would be deciding as a board, where would we go using this information and our conversations over the last many years, I would say. Is that a fair overview? Anyone have anything to add on that?
All good.
Okay. Rick, do you want to talk about the survey and the survey results, please?
Yeah, so again, we sent the survey out to essentially 928 owners, and this was done even though we have over 1,086 properties. The board thought it was would be good to send owners who had multiple properties just one survey to answer yes or no, versus sending them 2 or 3. So that's why you see 928 as a total. But of those surveyed, we received, again, the ask was about $355,646. Of the weighted values that came back, it was essentially 104,415% of that weight. Basically 41% responded back. Of that 41%, 20% said yes and 9% no. But the big question is the 629 people who did not respond to the survey, and that total value is about $251,231. So we do understand that some of the survey was sent out to, again, we sent 425 out via email, 107 were not opened. There were a couple bad survey, like email addresses, 2 errors, but we try to attempt to resend the survey to the people who didn't receive it. And then I've gotten 2 or 3 emails this week saying, hey, we know about the survey, we didn't send it, we didn't see it, so I sent it to them personally, along with the responses that were included in the board packet here. So we really did the best we could within the time limit to try to get the survey out and try to get the opinion from the public. And with that, there were a couple questions that I was given, and I'll scroll down here in just a second. Basically, some didn't agree with the methodology of the engineer's report, but one said, hey, will we, moving forward, I see that, I own vacant land, will we be assessed on the vacant land? In the past, you were not assessed on vacant land for the fire assessment. It was only if you built a home and there was combustible space on your home. But moving forward, yes, you will be assessed on vacant land, of course, at minimal cost. An example would be a single family resident piece of parcel would be about $75 a month per year. So with that, I open for discussions and happy to go through the public comments if you want, Doug, or scroll down to that.
Yeah, I would like to make sure that we consider those as comments as just like they were reviewed here, so that we can address them in turn as needed. Any clarifying questions or anything that in terms of the survey results? We had about a third of about a third response rate, with 2/3 of those respondents being yes in favor and 1/3 of the response no. But 2/3 of the total dollars out there did not come back in a vote. And I'll remind everyone that it is a weighted vote for the 218, and so not everyone gets the same dollar value. So some customers get more than others in terms of their benefits received from the engineer's report. And so not all of the 2/3 that's still out there is evenly distributed across all of the customers. So keep that in mind. And then in terms of a formal 218, it would be the majority, like more than 50% of the weighted value coming back as yes, would be so the people who do not vote don't count towards that. It's my understanding how that works. So background, any questions on that?
Did we get any official response from Vail?
Kirkwood Mountain Resorts,
I have not received a response from Vail Resorts or Kirkwood Mountain Resorts.
What about KPS?
Are you talking about the developer or
Yeah,
Kirkwood Capital Partners? Yes, they did respond.
and what was it, positive or negative?
it's commercial.
If you look
Yeah,
at commercial.
It's reflected in the commercial in the
Okay,
survey.
further. So there's no support from commercial from the 3 out of 7.
There are 7 owners in commercial. They
Okay,
represent a third of the entire value. And 3 voted no and 4 didn't vote.
okay.
So
Okay.
You think that if we left the survey out longer, we would have gotten more responses?
I mean, Bob, our history on surveys is you get
every time you repeat asking, you get 50% less than the last time. So it's pretty much a diminishing return. For emails, we did it 3 times. For US Postal Service, we did it just once.
And I will say, just in terms of my own personal efforts to get response rate, I did email every single HOA resident individually the day after the survey was sent to every individual property owner, asking them, please forward along the importance of this and to communicate to their HOA members that we would love to hear their voice in this. So I want to say thank you to all of the people who did vote, of course, and the HOA presidents did that. I also did reach out to the developer and Kirkwood Mountain Resort specifically multiple times,
Right.
asking for them to make sure they got the vote in. And so a lot of your commercial customers were definitely individually outreached as well. So we try to get everyone to vote.
So
Does
my experience is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Does KMR have multiple of these 7 votes or not? They do. Okay, large condos don't have a commercial vote, they have many individual condo votes, isn't that true?
Yeah, you have the high square foot condos
Right, but there's not,
and there's the timeshares.
okay, when we say commercial though, we do not mean the big condo buildings like Snowcrest.
No, the definition is defined by the assessor's office. That's what we're using.
And the definition would capture, obviously KMR and any, I'm trying to think who the 7 are. We talk about that just a little bit openly. Who are the commercial customers?
Well, just because there's 7, it's because their names could be spelled differently. It could be an LLC. So these names are differentiated by how they've registered the property.
Okay, but in plain English, they are either the Vail properties or the Heavenly Chuck properties. Is that correct? Okay, so good, got it. We will be voting or making a motion today on whether to proceed based on these results.
That is, we can decide what we want to decide. Like, it is an open question as to what we want to do here. It is, we asked the community to get we started to get community sentiment. It's up to the board to decide what we would potentially do next.
My view is we've got a response from a representative sample. We have the risk, of course, that of all those who didn't vote, in particular the commercial who I would surmise the commercial knowingly did not vote. They didn't miss the email. And so that doesn't send a positive signal, but
Well, let's go to, I like to try to do this, let's do the overview here. Let's getting into discussion of what the actions are next and what we will do. Let's get feedback and open for public comments. I want to make sure that people may have questions on the survey or the survey results, that we address those questions. We also go through the public comments that were written to us, make sure we address
Right.
those, and then we can discuss what we do next with that
Please.
information.
Let's do that.
Okay, so let me scroll down Rick here. So the methodology, Rick, do you want to talk about the engineer's report methodology about commercial versus residential? And this is a question about how residential, basically if you're renting something out, is it considered residential still? Which it is.
It is, yeah. And again, the methodology is something that the engineer who's done this before feels like it's defendable per his report. And so if the board decides to move forward with the 218, the community will have ample opportunity to question, re-review the final approved engineer's report and get better clarification on how the method was created and developed. So I don't want to speak for the engineer, but basically it's within the engineer's report, the definition of how the methodology was done.
Yeah, and I think some of the confusion on that is the determination based on benefit received is misunderstood frequently.
Yes, it is. A lot will think it's just basically on square footage, and it's not. It's a combination of.
Or that's kind of implied that you're getting income off of property, so you're getting more benefit because you're getting income. But I think that's been a common confusion point. And it was when I watched the Amador County 218 too. It's not a intuitive concept, right?
And
So-
just good clarification. Further down,
There's much on the next one.
yeah, there was another one about, again, methodology from Tracy. And her opinions, of course.
And
And
then
then,
say the engineer's report goes into detail of how it breaks down, and it goes into the commercial, as we just discussed, the commercial is not. Said at least a quarter, and commercial is at least a quarter in total, so it's.
Yeah.
So I want to highlight that she links to the report, and I encourage folks to have, I remember we talked about it during the slide decks as well, where it shows some of the breakdowns and the examples in there as well. But that goes into detail.
moving further down,
Next one about Alpine County and general use of the money. We had many comments to that effect. I would say January, February, March, something to that effect.
I would say the last 10 years.
Most recently in the last 9 months or so, and we talked about that, and our supervisors who were here talked about how that money is spent, how it's allocated, and the formulation to it. And we've had those conversations. The short story is that we get what we get at this point. That is going to be the formula, and that's the way it is.
Are these letters in the revised package?
Yes.
there.
And
And they're in the original.
Okay.
And then the next one was from Bonnie Matlock, again, discussing, about vacant properties and so forth and how that would work. And I thought the survey did a nice job really showing, what you're paying out, what you could be paying. And it did get some compliments that it was
In this
well done.
particular case, one half the couple is on the utility bill and the other half is in the assessor's office name. So that's why the three properties didn't appear in one statement. I didn't try to find every single case. We looked for names that were the same on multiple properties and grouped them together. But if the names weren't similar, we didn't try to group them. And if we didn't have an email, then they got a letter instead.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
So again, those are the written comments received. I will open it up to any public comments. Anyone can come forward to raise their hand if they would like to ask any questions or give any comments on the survey or the survey results.
Seeing none and receiving none the email.
Okay. So now, as a board, as Chris was alluding to, we get to decide what we'd like to do next. And so, where we are with this, of course, is we have the sentiment that you can see here from the customers that did respond. And I think the trade-offs of, what if I had to put it out there is that there is a real cost to doing a formal 218 process. That if, we didn't do it, it'd save everyone, all customers, some money. But on the other side, we have the results that we have, and we can move forward only with the votes and sentiments that we've been given at this point. And so those are the two things that I think are in play here. So, our options are, whatever we want to do at this point. So I will open it up to.
So I think
competition.
I think the guesstimate is it's $15,000 to $20,000 plus administrative costs to actually run the 218 ballot process.
That's right.
How long does it take to set that process up? A couple of months or?
Rick,
So-
We decided, is it aesthetically that we want to meet?
Sure.
See, how long would it take?
So the next step would be if the board decides they'd like to move forward with the 218 process, is that we would hire our engineer, basically do a change order with our engineer to perform the ballot measure to put this to a ballot. They also provided some information for other ballots that they've done in the past. I can pass this over to you, but basically they'll do an introduction letter to explain what the fire assessment would look like, along with sending out a ballot with a return envelope to reflect the owners of the property's vote. But the initial next step, besides doing the background for that, is to bring the engineer's report back to the board to be formally approved. Once that's done, it starts the 45-day schedule for public hearing. Once the 45 days is over, we'll obviously receive votes up until the public hearing. The votes are calculated, and then at the public hearing, and then the board can decide whether they want to approve a resolution affirming the fire assessment or not, depending on the majority of the weighted yes votes. Assuming that the majority of the weighted yes vote exceeds 50% of the total ballots returned. And that would be the process.
So I'd like to comment on a few things. So I track this every day as it came in, and I didn't notice any real change in the percentages. So I would say that this wasn't like a last minute yes vote coming in, a last minute no's. It was consistently running about 2-to-1 in favor, with very strong support for both from the condos, single family residences. So in my mind, there's a very strong sentiment, and we made this as easy as possible to vote. I doubt that this many people would actually do a written ballot. Sending in, it's a lot more work. And if we look at just the example, comparing how many send back a written, and the written one just said you click on the QR code and you vote. So you didn't have to mail anything back, but you had to use your camera. So there's one more step, and you had to open the mail, but you also had to open your email. So we made it as simple as possible. But the fact that the turnout is so much lower in postal, to me indicates that if we decide to proceed with the actual vote, we probably won't get as many people responding as we got here. For a 30% response rate, that's very, very good for any form of survey that's done. So I think this is a very strong statement on the part of the people who own residential property here. And it says nothing about the non-residential, really. And the non-residential, there aren't enough.
Something.
Well, it's the total dollar value of $9,000 out of 350,000
Oh, I do. Yeah.
isn't meaningful.
Got it.
There probably isn't enough residential to overcome a strong, large negative. And so we still don't know where that stands. My opinion is the community's asking for this. It's a really good, I think it's a great proposal. It's a good split between making sure there's always a professional available. We still have to develop a volunteer. No one has to wake up in a remote location and drive here to respond to a false alarm. It's a very well designed. I think it helps Alpine. So I think it's very thoughtful. I think there's strong community support and there's one unknown.
I strongly agree.
Peter, do you have any thoughts on that?
So we haven't gotten any feedback at all from Kirkwood Mountain Resort on this issue.
But we will if we go forward.
We
One way or the other.
might not.
Even nothing is something.
But how much money do we stand to lose if the measure fails?
$20,000 is that's the estimated cost.
Cost of doing business.
$20,000 is the estimated cost to run the VAT process. Obviously, staff time and effort and all those sorts of things. So
And we're into it about 30,000 with the engineer's report thus far. So this whole process is gonna be a $40,000
and I think it's all been
endeavor.
money very well spent to this point. I mean, the community asked us to go and we heard very clearly 2 years ago that people wanted firm numbers. They wanted a clear proposal. We went out and got firm numbers from an engineer's report and we got a firm proposal that we have on the table. So I think we have successfully, in my personal opinion, I'm certainly biased here, but I think we've done what the community asked us to do. And so here we are. So we have to make a decision though of what to do next. So I mean, one option is we wait a month. And see if Kirkwood Mountain Resort gives us a firm response in the next month. One option is to go forward now. So money.
Why would we wait for Kirkwood? It makes no sense.
Must be Carolyn Scott.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know I don't understand why we would wait for Kirkwood. Why we would think they would respond if they hadn't responded.
Might have missed the email.
They received the email.
They received more than one.
Phone calls.
It's in the spam.
But again, it's a survey. It's not a vote. So
Well, I don't have any visibility into their budget process. There could be a delay based on their budget process, but
Sure.
don't know. If there was a reason like that, like our annual budget is approved on a certain date, that would be a reason to wait,
They would have told
but
us.
we don't know that.
Their fiscal year began in September.
My understanding from earlier conversations with Vicky is that they have their budget.
Okay.
So I don't know.
So I think the fact that we don't know, we shouldn't try to
Yeah,
extend the conversation about not knowing. I wanted to bring up one other point though, and thinking ahead to implementation. One way of doing this, which is kind of the typical, is you have a certain date, you go to the assessor's office and say, this is how much should be put on everybody's property tax. And then they collect the money. So this assessment would be on the property tax. The disadvantage of that approach is you pay it in two big lumps instead of spread out. And we could not collect any money until we lined up with their cycle. They're not going to do a special billing or anything else like that. The other option is to do what we're currently doing, which is to put it on the monthly statement. So with regards to that, there's about 500 properties, or not 400 properties that are property owners who do not get statements currently. It's either a vacant property or it's a fractional timeshare. To bill those people monthly would be sending them a bill for $2 $3, things of that sort, for which the cost of managing it wouldn't make any sense. So I think one of the things we would want to inquire is a split thing that says if they're a current customer, we put them on a monthly cycle. If they're not a current utility customer, we would request the assessor's office.
That's feasible with our system.
I have no idea if it's feasible. I'm saying we should request to figure out what's a feasible way that isn't spending a lot of money to collect, small bills.
But that's for staff to figure out, not.
I think I would suggest that when we have Ed come back and present,
How many of the tiny bills would there be?
there would be 240.
And what's the cost of that? Is the postage or is there more to it than that?
Well, there's the postage, there's the printing time. It's almost 50% more than we currently send out. I would defer to Terry to comment on the specifics, but on a monthly basis, the average for the 8-unit timeshares is $33 a year. And first class postage is 70-something cents. I don't know what, so all I'm saying is we should also suggest and comment on, are we going to, what choices do we have for implementation? Can we split it, et cetera? When I asked Ed just about putting it on our assessment, on our monthly bills, he said it's unusual, but you could certainly write that into the definition.
Seems complex to do it two different ways.
Well, I'm gonna, I think this conversation is fine to have, but it is not one we need to have today.
No, I'm just requesting that part be part of the next discussion if we move forward.
Sure. Okay, so we need to decide what to do. I think our options are, we move forward with the 218, or we defer for some amount of time and try to get Kirkwood Mountain Resort to give us a definitive answer, because as we said, a single vote would overcome all of the positives that we've received at this point. If it was voted in a negative manner, the positive manner would support it.
Or no vote.
Or no vote would mean portions that we have would pass. But we don't know. So we can continue to try to endeavor. Happy to, be in email contact with Ricky on this and continue to do so, and the staff, and try to get a response, or we can move forward today.
I would move that we move forward today and, day after tomorrow, after putting one last attempt, or no, just telling Ricky that we've reached this conclusion. And, if someone was to help me with the language, I would make that motion.
You're saying
Everything that's entailed,
a contingent, like if we haven't heard by a definitive answer by whatever.
okay, then skip that, you're right.
No,
I make the
better
motion.
understand.
Yeah, we move forward with everything that was, you listed a few things like speaking to the consultant to re-up the contract and all of the steps involved in moving forward. I'm in favor of doing that.
I think the motion, I would suggest to finish a 2-week,
Execute the.
execute a 218 ballot process.
Yep.
Is that your motion?
Sure, either that or Bob made it and I seconded it, I don't care.
Second?
I'll second.
Is there any other discussion on this?
I guess the question is, do you think our momentum is peaking if we do it now, or do you think it's- if we postpone it, it would probably lose momentum or gain, I don't know.
There's no reason to postpone.
I look at it differently. We have a perilous situation with our current fire services. And the longer we take to decide what the next step is, the more likely we're gonna regret something not going, that we can't handle. 'Cause we're understaffed currently. I guess we're going into the better time of year when there's more volunteers. But we're not in a reliable situation currently, despite the best efforts. And delaying a good result of November.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm of the mind at this point, I don't want to spend $20,000 if we cannot spend $20,000. And I want to be good stewards of our money, and I feel like we have a pretty clear way of knowing whether or not we need to spend that money, frankly. So I think I would prefer personally to wait and get a response. It's my opinion at this point, as much as I don't want to do that. I also don't want to initiate a process and have it come back and one vote causes the whole thing to not pass at that time. And I don't think if we don't get it, we can't hold on forever. But at the same time, I want to be realistic on that's our situation. So that's how I personally feel on this at this point.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
There's another way to think about it, which is if the community's incensed that somebody's blocking it, there's actually enough dollars there to prevail. Yeah.
You mean additional residents load?
Yes. For everyone who voted yes, got two of their neighbors to
Right.
vote,
Yep.
we would have enough to overcome a large obstacle.
So what I'm hearing is essentially two options. One is essentially reopen the survey timeline and direct staff to ask for more owners to cast a vote, seek out the ones that didn't get a ballot for whatever reason, and then bring this back to the board with the revised survey results as one option.
Well, I would say that there was a motion on the table that we're discussing.
There's a motion
And
to
then-
go forward.
The other option, because I'm hearing both things during the second motion, which would be to move forward with Prop 218 fire assessment, understanding there'd be an estimated cost of, $10,000 to $20,000.
And what I'm saying, we're in the discussion portion of that, and I'm saying that at this point, much as it pains me to say, I would like to get an answer from Kirkwood Mountain Resort as to whether or not they will answer definitively, or what their answer is definitively. And I would like to know one of those two things, because I still don't know the answer to either of those. And that will determine, given, if this had been 99-1, then I think, Bob, you're right, but it wasn't. Like the way it's proportioned, and you assume those proportions in whatever way returned the ballot, there is not enough momentum to overcome that one vote. And by doing the survey, even without the resort's results, we could have known. And if it was much, again, to overcome that, even if it was no, you'd have 95% yes. We don't have that much momentum to overcome currently, given what Bob said, of course. And so I just don't want to go through the whole process personally, and ask our customers to respond to yet another thing. We've been asking a lot of them this year, and I'm very thankful for everyone, for the water, wastewater, for the manganese. We had 218. We've done a lot of asking of our customers this year, and as much as it pains me, I would just like to have Kirkwood Mountain Resort and to be able to give us a definitive, they will or will not respond, in which case we are back to knowing that they are not going to give us definitive and we can make a decision to go forward or not, or they give a affirmative or a negative definitively in a survey result. And then that way it saves, I think, our customers time and effort, and all of us collectively, because it's all of our money, $20,000. That's my opinion. So my vote would be no onto the initiative, but that's my perspective today. Bunch of opinions.
I have a comment. I can't figure out the raise your hand, but I think it's important to look at the holidays coming up, because one, people travel, they don't have as much time to deal with things like voting. On the other hand, it's when the most people are there with their families, and maybe it's a good time for them to be talking about it. Are we going to vote yes or no? Because here we are with our grandchildren. I think it's really important to consider the holidays.
Will your grandchildren be here? What would the timing be? When might a 218 vote if we move expeditiously, if we were to go forward now and pass this motion? Would that mean the vote is in January or is in March? I have no idea.
It could begin in December, assuming that
Okay.
the engineer can get all the information together, the ballots and so forth. More than likely, I would say, I would recommend beginning in January and start
Right.
the 45 in January 1st.
My hunch is to agree exactly. The speaker points out that, Christmas time of the holidays do bring people sort of focused on Kirkwood again, thinking about it and talking with neighbors. So if there's discussion about this, like in the newsletter and just discussion around town, so to speak, then if the vote comes right then, early January, that'd be good.
And I guess, I mean, again, I've stated my biases here. But Rick, what's the turnaround to initiate? Because does it take 60? So if we said regardless of what we decide on this vote, or this motion, or sorry, not regardless, but like, if we said we wanted to start the vote in January, if we approved it today, or if we approved it in 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now, could they both start in January? Like, is the start, if we talk to Ed and the consultant to start it, does it take 90 days to start things up, 60 days, 30 days, 10 days? Like what's the startup time?
The initial conversations, it was be relatively quick, but we are getting into the holidays. He's using a third party to do the ballot counting and the basically mailings and so forth. But I have to confirm the time with him.
There's a public notice period,
It's 45 days, yeah.
45 days for that.
Well,
You have to do
but that's not starting in January.
The voting is happening during the public notice.
But what I'm saying is, if we delayed, into December to make this decision, we could hypothetically still have the voting start in January, which is what it sounds like the suggestion is right now. If we proved it today and started in January, we could also vote in December and start in January. And during the holiday time, 2 years ago, we did a community forum during the holiday period. Then we could do that, then as well. And so, again, for those reasons, my sense is that I'd rather know something and then vote in December personally.
Yeah, so I did Doug and I partnered on this project. We did the meetings with Alpine County. We did most of them together with Ricky as well, and it's a tough decision because I think we do have a serious problem that we need to address, and there's a fuse lit on that. On the other hand, it is difficult to spend $20,000 and go through a ballot process and ask the public to respond to something else when there's an alternative way to get the answer. So I think either way we go is not perfect, but waiting 4 weeks till the next board meeting isn't gonna impact us from a fire and safety perspective. Gives us one last chance to get a response. So I think that might be a good course of action.
So I'll tell you the reason why I'm voting to support this, why I disagree with both of you. I don't want to give any one customer a veto power. I want to move forward, and if they want to veto in a very public way, they'll have the opportunity to do that. But there's also the possibility that the strong community support may influence the outcome. So if we just look at the data here, we gave everybody, weeks to do this. They knew in advance it was coming. We are where we are, and I think it's time to move forward.
So
People can decide.
I agree that we got a strong support from residents. But I don't agree that we didn't give a veto power to anybody. They have it based on
Some professional
the
engineers.
professional engineers allocations. So,
Just to, no one party has if everyone voted, no one party has a veto power. Isn't that true?
Your vote is proportional to your fee.
Exactly. So, but even the biggest customer, even the two biggest customers don't have.
Don't have 50%.
no,
No,
they don't do what,
No,
20,
the largest customer has.
25%.
So it would take a lot of,
It's 125, 121 out of 355.
wanna forget
I
it.
thought it was one way.
So they have 30%. I'm lumping a couple people
Oh,
together.
you put.
I'm lumping 7 owners together.
Oh, I was just taking the outstanding, the ones that had voted, yeah.
Oh.
So our math is close.
Yeah, it's very.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on this? Okay. Vote. Let's do, I think a roll call vote for this. Here. Roll call vote, Peter,
On the measure,
on the motion
The
and
motion to proceed with the 218.
aye.
You-
I'm asking you to roll call vote.
Oh. Middleton,
No,
Epstein,
Yes.
Schroeder,
No,
Duker,
With all appreciation to the two of you, what you did, John and Doug, yes.
Dormer Guy.
okay, all right, the motion passes 3-2. So staff, we will start working on the 218 process to initiate it. And I guess we could then discuss at a future time then the logistics, as Bob brought up, in terms of the mechanics of how we would collect in the future, but also just the mechanics of getting out there. I will highlight that this was purposeful and known, just to get it, so everyone who's listening right now, that the mechanics by which you received this survey is not the same way that official 218 process works. So the water wastewater rate, that will be what will be happening. It's the same concept for that. That will be for the official process that the board has now voted to move forward with. So I just want to make sure anyone listening, you're not going to expect an email with a QR code, that or a letter with a QR code, or an email with a link. That is not the official process that will be followed for the 218.
They will get a mail-in ballot.
That's right.
Along with an explanation, and they'll get a mail-in ballot for each property.
So
I
I just want to say also, for if the mailing address by which you received the water wastewater 218 is not the mailing address that is you own, we had that happen a couple of times where there were PO boxes that people did not own anymore. Oftentimes that was happening because of they get electronic billing and communications, and they didn't realize their actual permanent address on record with us is not viable, or you just wanted to go somewhere else because of some other reason. That's important to make sure that we get that adjusted.
They get a property tax. And they pay the property tax, and whatever that address is, that's where it goes to.
Yeah.
So I'm not aware of any flexibility
Well,
in that. You can ask.
we can ask, because that was not my understanding of when we moved the water wastewater, is that people had PO boxes out of date and stuff like that, so.
That was a different mailing, right?
We'll figure it out.
I guess I feel like,
I mean, people, where you get your property tax bill is a reliable address.
that's true.
Okay,
Right,
and
with the
that's
property.
where it's going. The other thing I'd like to mention is, I'm assuming something along the lines of the staff report will be in the next newsletter.
Yes, it'll be the number one item.
Okay, I think there's some things that should also be covered, because we're also eliminating the fee. So the amount they're paying is not, it's this amount less their current fee. And that was clear, hopefully it was clear in the letters we sent out. So we should explain that this is collecting this fee and eliminating the 63,000, whatever it is. On that, and then just noting that the numbers here are owners, not properties.
Right, owners.
So just to make sure that we
Does it
we
change the
get that.
language in this, Ben, Rick, to make sure that this document reflects that this is owners, not properties?
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's update, so the finalized version of this table will be slightly different with some wording. Just so that everyone understands that, because I want this to be our permanent record of the results. I mean, this is the permanent record of results, and I want to make sure it is accurate and complete. Thanks for this correction, Bob.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think, Doug, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think we're both very in favor of going forward with the 218, and we like the program that we partnered with Alpine County on. The no votes are based on timing of the motion to go forward with the 218. It's not a negative statement about the
Give
program.
peace a chance.
Agreed. Thank you, John.
I understand.
Okay, well, I will just say, look, this has been a long journey. And I appreciate everyone's time and work on this. John, who's partnered with me on a lot, appreciate all the work. Our partners in Alpine County, Terry, who's here, I saw Paul's on. Thank you for all of this, because again, their board of supervisors approved this. This is a firm number as best as that we could create. We'll still have logistics to go through and potentially on a contract, all those sorts of things, but there's been a lot of work to get us to this point. Regardless of what the official 218 now tells us, I think it's been a really great process and a great relationship building with Kirkwood Mountain Resort, with Terry, with Alpine County, with the staff there, and everyone here. So I just want to say thank you. It's been a lot, and I'm excited for us to go forward and see what the community says in the formalized vote. Okay. All right. Moving on to agenda item 9B. This is now on page 35, I believe. Rick, do you want to lead on this one?
Yeah. So recently I met with Personnel Committee to suggest some changes to our current to the old organization chart. Excuse me. And what you see here is the new version that I recommended and the committee approved to bring to the board for consideration and or just for information. Clearly, we all work for, me and staff work for the board of directors, myself. I'm continuing on as the volunteer fire chief, not a paid position. And then under my tenure or under my curtilage is administrative staff. We have Terry Leach as the administrative manager, Melody Taylor, a technology specialist, Amanda Gomez, accounting specialist 2, Tim Dumond, accounting specialist 1, and of course, just recently added Tomas Leitenbauer as administrative assistant. Under the operations side of the business, we have the assistant operations manager. Just notice the typo in there. Should say assistant operations manager, Brandy Benson. And for her, she has 3 different departments: the electric, propane, water, wastewater, and then of course, snow removal and construction. By doing some changes like moving Michael Wagner from a water wastewater operator to the electric and propane department, which is a benefit to the district because he has an electric propane lineman certification. That department basically increases by 1, but it also builds some different layers for us for retention as well as, or for not retention, but for, help me out, redundancy, thank you, within that department, which we've never had before. And then for water and wastewater, we brought in a new operator, Blair Churchill, which was part of the original budget that was approved. So that's, again, fully staffed, which we haven't had a fully staffed water and wastewater department in a long time. So, and then finally for snow removal, again, board approved snow removal budget. We've got a full staff right now on board, and I just got actually an email of somebody interested in working in snow removal part-time. But the only open position we have in the district is a mechanic position. So we're currently advertising in the local newspapers on that. By making these changes, I asked staff to take a look to see what the administrative savings were. And with pay and benefits and everything else, we're looking at a $305,000 or $306,000 savings by changing to this work chart. And open it up to any questions.
I have a minor one. Why do 2 people get a star?
two people. Where are you seeing the star?
Michael Wagner and Blair Churcher.
Oh, Michael actually began in water and wastewater, so he was going down that road, and then Blair Churchill, that's probably a typo. I need to take that star off.
Oh, okay.
So,
And-
footnote if the star, what it means, just that you don't know what those mean.
Yeah, I'll probably just remove the stars. It's
Yeah.
not necessary.
I had a couple other kind of logistic ones.
Sure.
I will just start by, you said the KMP Board of Directors oversees the staff. I will just remind everyone that KMP Board of Directors reports to the Kirkwood community. And so everyone out here who's listening, that we all report to you. So that is in this org chart as well. So that's there. Second, should your name go under general manager there?
Yeah, probably.
And then I didn't quite catch what you said. You said that there was a typo for one of the titles. Which one was that?
Brandy, I promoted her general manager, assistant general manager.
So what's the typo?
She's actually the operations manager.
Got it. So that was your.
Yeah.
And then, not that, but should that be colored differently as well?
Yeah, I was gonna mention that should be yellow.
Should that be yellow?
It is, and this, I apologize. This template was from 3 different templates, and one of them being Excel. So I put it together best I could for this board report. But we'll clean it all up, and then we'll actually probably give this back to EOP committee because they reflected they wanted to see it, and we can certainly provide a cleaned up version. The one thing I didn't add on this as well as the contract services, which was something we discussed in personnel, is again we're still retaining Eric Christensen, the former general manager, to assist during the transition, as well as, more importantly, to hopefully close out our Russell loan. We've got Matt. I can't remember Matt. Yeah, with Ryland Strategic Business Consulting, helping with finances still, and then of course Tommy Baggett, the former administrative manager, still using him just a very little bit, like $37 last month. So, but again, I'll clean all this up. I just wanted to again let you know that we're going to change the org chart and we're going to save some money.
A couple of questions. Could you please elaborate on the use of consultants specifically? Will Baggett be phased out, or will this continue? And can you give us just a general sense of how Eric, the former GM, is still active? Is this just going to be for a couple of months in transition? Do we see this happening for the rest of the, like another year or more episodically? What's up with that?
For Tommy Baggett, as you know, he left the district a little over a year ago, and Terry said, "Here, tag, you're it." And so she really did need the assistance, especially preparing budgets and, of course, financials and audit information. As time has gone on, we've been slowly moving away from Tommy. And like I said, we barely used him last month, but there are still things in the audit that are numbers that were generated from Tommy's predecessor that she's having to chase out for the auditors, different formulas and so forth. So we're still going to be using him, but we're probably going to be done by the time we finish and close out the audit, which we expect to get the audit draft by the 18th of November. We probably won't need him anymore beyond that point. As for Eric Christensen, again, really, I'm relying on him for the Rust loan and closing out the Rust loan. There's a lot of working parts and things that need to be closed out with the original loan documents, as well as Stantec. And so we'll probably, after that closes, hopefully if the government reopens, we can get that done this year, maybe early January. We close our CloBank account, and then we'll be pretty much done with Eric as well. Ryland, I highly recommend that we continue on with our contract with Ryland.
Ryland is our accounting finance consultant. Is that
Yes. And so Moss Adams recommended bringing this person on board. And we're using Ryland Strategic Business Consulting to assist us. And he's been honestly invaluable. And I believe we've had him for almost 2 years now. His contract's up for, I think, coming up pretty soon. And but we'll certainly retain him.
Do you know when that, John may know this, so when the contract is up and what the dollar value is?
We verbally talked about it's January, we think it's up for the 2 years and it's not to exceed 40,000. I think we're way under that.
And the way I'd characterize it is that's for expertise. And Tommy's more for historical.
Yeah. Where did you put that piece of paper? Last question would be, could you comment just a little bit on the administration team? There are, is it, I think, 4 + 1, 5 people. Just a high level description. I heard what you said earlier, where each one had a 2-word function, but
Yeah.
what really is the administration team doing, and how much is that devoted to the accounting finance function? Do you have the right people in place for the accounting finance function?
I believe we do. I mean, with Tomas coming in as more of a customer service, and he'll be doing some more website work for us. That frees up Melanie, Amanda, and Emily to do really the accounting for the district, with Terry leading the charge. I don't at this time recommend bringing in more staff, but I do, as time goes on and people become more proficient, as Terry's gone through now her second audit, I think, plus cleaning up issues from previous audits. I think we've got a good team in place that have set up a good template for moving forward, i.e. Desk manuals and processes, and then with assistance with the report server. I think we're in pretty good shape. There are going to be some changes moving forward with some of the billing requirements and the software there, but other than that, I don't think it's going to be a big problem for us.
So the billing system, PCS, it's a new version, so there'll be some
Changes there, yeah. But right now, I think the team in place is a good team, and we've got a lot of new people there. Tomas, and even Melanie, came on board recently, relatively speaking, 24, 25. So to answer your question, I think we're in a good place right now and don't need more staff.
Thank you. Action on this, or is there?
There's no action, this is for information discussion.
Right? Any other conversation questions? Okay, we'll move on to next agenda item. There's B. Go ahead. Rick.
Resolution. Yeah, let me pull that up real quick. So basically, this is a resolution saying, hey, we've lost the general manager, Eric Christensen. He's retired. So to be able to, if we decide to put more money into LAIF or do something with the LAIF account, they need to add my name to the account. So here is basically a resolution acknowledging me as someone who could work in and out of LAIF, and retaining Doug and John, the president and treasurer, as well. So we're just basically acknowledging me through a resolution to, again, work with LAIF.
Yeah, there's no funds being transferred, there's no policy change, it's really just a signature change.
Exactly.
The comment is in the second whereas. It says fines TATEH. So I'm not sure what
I think that's
you might like to.
It's probably the word that.
Oh, yeah, I see it there.
How's that though?
Em, can you tweak that and we can get, okay. Thank you.
So
Catching that?
That's it, that just needs a motion.
Before we move on, can I just take this opportunity to ask could we talk a little bit about how we use LAIF, how we've used it over the last year or two, how our account, our account balance goes up and down. According to cash flow report now, it's quite a small number. Not that that's a problem, but it looks like it's, I don't know, $10,000 or $20,000 right now. In the past, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's been over 2 million. Is that right? I think we've also used Five Star Bank sometimes as opposed to LAIF.
We get higher interest at 5 Star, so we move money over there.
I'm sorry, I didn't
We
hear.
move money out LAIF into 5 Star because we earn more interest there. And then we also, any concerns about FDIC guarantee and things like this, public, we don't have a limit on that as a public utility district. So it didn't introduce a risk.
Do we have what is our strategy toward Blake? Do we try to do we maximize it, minimize it? Do we use it for some things that we don't use 5-star for?
It's really based on return.
It's based on whatever the return rate is.
Yeah, we earn more money at 5-star, so we move money to 5-star.
So what do we have late for at all? Well, we, of course,
Things could change in the future. We have
Yeah.
historically.
and so we have very little money there by intent and because return's better elsewhere.
And 5-star came about because Bank of the West got acquired by BMO. BMO.
Oh, no, I'm not
Or-
questioning that.
No. I just want
the
to see
history.
how did this opportunity appear? BMO acquired Bank of the West. We decided to make a switch from BMO to 5-star. 5-star offered some better investment vehicles.
Vehicle,
Then we previously had options for at Bank of the West or BMO.
I see, thank you. Well, that's all.
Is there a motion to move forward with the authorization of investing the funds?
Motion to approve
You say with the small tax edit.
with the typo bit.
Yeah, each. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, indicate with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on now to agenda item 9, finance.
Do this a little bit.
I didn't get a chance.
That would be in the next finance,
Okay, so they're still in there. So you can
Yes.
explain that.
right, about the variance.
Thanks. I was gonna get my sunglasses.
I hadn't noticed that. I'm like, you guys must be blind looking at the sun.
Good, that's good.
Okay. So the overview and budget variances for August financials. Are there any questions on the overview? But I did want to point out during our finance committee meeting, did notice that the August budget numbers, a few numbers didn't get updated from last fiscal year. So you'll see some variances that will be changing on our balance sheet next month. So those will be updated.
So when you get to the balance sheet page, just some pretty high budget purchase actuals against the budget numbers need to be adjusted.
Correct.
And we'll be-
Yes. So you'll see that reflected on the September balance sheet. So are there any questions on the overview before we move forward to looking at the balance sheet? Okay. Okay, so current asset,
Can we
Yep.
go back to that? You want your overview back? Okay.
nope, you're good. So we have the balance sheet for August. Total operating and total capital reserve were below budget. We did add the employee housing unit for the Meadowstone for August, so you'll see that reflected in the financials. There any other questions on the balance sheet? Okay. Move down to combined income statement.
And basically revenue is a little below plan, but a little ahead of plan on operating income, correct?
Yes. Any questions on the combined income statement or any of the individual income statements?
I think on the other income statements, the
by fund.
variation
Right.
primarily described in the variance report. It was the ops and maintenance being higher at the Loop Road project. Things like that.
Right, yeah, you'll see that throughout the individual income statements.
And we'll get to see those for another
Yes, another,
8
8
months. Yeah.
and that's what's helpful, having it on the overview, so.
Oh, I
Just
like
remember.
remembering it. every
Yeah.
month. That was fun.
Okay, let's move forward to the preliminaries.
So prelims,
Yeah.
right?
September preliminaries. So year to date, we're pretty much right on track. Any questions on the preliminaries?
Still here.
Oh.
It looks like a good month.
Mhm.
We sold some utilities.
Okay, if no questions, we can move forward to cash flow. So again, for the cash flow, you can see that the employee housing condo, the Meadowstone, was added. And we did have a rest loan payment for September. Any questions on cash flow?
And we were talking about late before, and Terry and I were discussing that we actually get the interest rate monthly versus quarterly going with 5-star. That was another advantage.
And you can see the late balance, there is a line item on the cash flow.
Yeah, and then just historically to the, what, low watermark on this is like 3.4 million. That's historically super healthy for utility districts, so.
Any other questions?
I'm good.
Okay.
Thanks, Terry.
All right, let's move to agenda 9E, the power source disclosure.
Oh, I like this one. I have the disclosure that makes no sense.
It's shorter this year, though.
Here,
Oh, okay.
100% renewable, except we don't have any.
That's right. All right, so in addition to the confusing forms on the power source disclosure, this year the state reporting process has changed a bit. So in years past, you would actually have presented here to you a full multi-page power source disclosure. This year that is given to the state directly, and they produced for us the power content label, which you'll see in your packet. The information on the power content label is the same as in years past. They have changed, they being the state has changed, the headings a bit. We've got different colors, but overall, same process. So the number one question, like John mentioned, is we have 100% renewable power, but our power content label doesn't say that at all. And that's because under total on your power content label here, we've got retail sales covered by unbundled RECs is 113%.
please.
Retail sales covered by retired unbundled RECs. So that
Didn't you say retail sales as opposed to our commercial customers?
retail sales is just metered kilowatt hours that we sell.
So sales.
Sales, yes. So that is where our 100% renewable comes in to this form. Say that one
Because of
more.
RECs.
Because of the RECs. And the unbundled RECs are just the ones that we purchase because they're separate from the actual physical power. And we do this because our loads are so small. This is the most cost-effective way for us to do this. We are not allowed to change the power content label. It is a requirement of the state that we submit it to you so that the board can review and hopefully approve it. If it's approved, it is put onto our website exactly like this. And there's not any changes that we can make. I will say that we do have a list of where our RECs came from. This might be of interest to the board. It might be of interest to the community. We could add this in addition to the power content label on our website. Okay, and if that is the consensus, what we had 2,200 megawatt hours of solar that we retired last year, 1,333 of wind, and 4,665 of geothermal. All of those that we purchased through a contract with Shell.
So those are all unbundled.
Those are all unbundled. So those were
Solar in
the
Wyoming or whatever.
those were the generating facilities, and the facility name is listed also, so we can add that
That'd be great.
to our report. And that way, for people who are curious, what we're supporting with our dollars and our rec purchases, they would be able to see that.
So is the notation retail sales covered by retired unbundled recs, is that part of the standard label?
It is.
And the choice of font is required.
It
as well.
is. It is. The fact that
Yeah, I
it's
was-
small and not colored. Yes.
Why is it 13% higher? Why is it 113?
What we do is the renewable portfolio standard is on 3 or 4 year periods. So we were paying catch up a little bit from last year. Usually our annual recs are delivered in January. But last year they weren't delivered until later. And so the extra 13% was retired to cover
Okay.
previous years.
Got it.
I thought it was great that you wrote those FAQs. They're good. But we don't have those on our site from the 23, do we? Because when I searched, I couldn't find it, but
The FAQs for last year.
well, I see FAQs in the packet for
Sure.
this 2024
Mhm.
label. So I thought, well, those are great. Do we have those already from our old one? And I couldn't find it.
Probably
Yeah,
not.
I made a note that they were missing from the
So are they,
FAQs.
it's something that you just did?
No, this was part of my report last year as well. It was just updated for this year, but we could certainly include those if we're going to.
I think on our website, the label just stands alone. That would speak for itself, if it does. So it'd be great to, we can take that up in comms, but
We could add, we already have FAQs for electric, that we could add a whole set of questions around the power content label as well.
oh joy.
Subset. I'm happy to do that.
Do we get questions about this at all? Does this ever come up from customers I don't hear.
Not really. I might have gotten one question since I've been here probably over, I thought you said it was 100% power, renewable power, but that it rarely comes up. Really, we only talk about it once a year over here.
And if you'll indulge me for just 2 minutes on like a quick primer on this, we get our power from, the PG&E interconnect line. Okay, obviously it's all unspecified, which signals that we don't know the power content. But if any of you here on the board can just remind me, what is this really saying in plain English?
The content label?
Yeah, and Bob, you shook your head when I just spoke.
Go ahead.
There are two components to electricity. There's the power component and then its environmental attributes.
So the
And
regs.
those are sold separately unless you contract directly with a provider and you require buying both of them at the same time. So when you're buying unspecified power, you don't know exactly where it's coming from at the time, and you didn't purchase the RECs. If it's specified, it's a contract with a specific location.
And all our power is unspecified.
All our power is
That's not true.
unspecified.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
99% is.
Okay.
99%
That's the
is.
power.
And that was in 2024. I will say that now that we're on WAPA, as of
Oh,
the beginning of January, we will have some large hydro to report next year, which will make this much more interesting looking.
Good point.
Okay, so winded is this, for the sake of discussion, for all this unspecified power, we don't know its origins, but we do know what we purchased through RECs, through unbundled. And that feeds into does it feed into the power label, content label, or the other?
It is on the power content label in really small font under the black line. That's the only place it shows.
So Brandon, for next year, we won't need to buy Rex for power that we can do as hydro.
That will be up to the board's discretion. Right now, the rate study says that we purchase RECs to cover 100% of our sales. So it could be a topic of discussion.
But WAPA is also sells the attributes separately, right? Or
Um,
not?
we can through WAPA
Fine.
get the RECs that are associated with the power that we purchase from them. What that process looks like exactly and whether it's worth it, I'm not sure.
Right, or cost effective as well.
Exactly.
Still cost effective.
Is our utility required to make these purchases? What's
By our decision.
it's a board decision
Our board
in the
has
past.
passed It used to be a voluntary program, and now, and before the last rate study of 2021 made it a mandatory policy to do amount of kilowatt hours sold to customers, the retail sales.
That's right. There is a California requirement that is stepping up, and I believe we're somewhere in the 35 to 40% required now.
It's high forties.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's
Um,
49%.
40-something% of your retail sales needs to be covered
Yes.
through these rec.
Okay. All right, so it sounds like we'll have a potential conversation about rec purchase. So, okay.
Oh, if the board could, yes, please.
I need a motion to approve the power contract label. The motion.
I'd love to approve that our contract. It is with no change whatsoever.
Would you also like to motion that?
I make that.
Thank you. Is a second for that motion?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, now you can indicate that you're excited to approve it.
Aye.
There you go. Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Randy. All right, let's go ahead and reporting.
All right, so this is the first performance report for this fiscal year. We have made a couple of changes, and I'll go through what those look like just to the format. By and large, the tables that you see are unchanged, with the exception of electric. So since the electric since the electric master plan was done and our engineer identified an expected amount of loss for our in-valley and out-valley systems. I've updated this to indicate that identified system losses, which are calculated kilowatt hours, match what Dave Wrightley and Cross Canyon Engineering said in their report. So the report identified a total of 8.5% split between out valley and in valley losses. So these formulas now show that. So indicating that our identified system losses of 101,277 for the year. This is the 8.5% that we are expecting due to transformers, due to overhead and underground line loss. The unidentified system losses are the lower section of this first chart. Those remain unknown, unidentified. So historically, we have been looking at a goal of 12% there. That's still here on the chart. We are running year to date 15%, so we're a little higher than the 12% that we are looking for.
So Brandon, what would be examples of the netting out, losses expected, which I imagine cover just heat and transfer? Like, is that the main component of that? Or I guess what I'm trying to say is give me examples of remind us from the study,
sure,
what those are, and then what we would expect to be under the new separated out unidentified losses. What are examples you can expect?
Sure thing. So the anticipated and calculated losses that we expect are things like the electricity required to heat up the transformer, the losses that you experience getting the power from the KM Green substation up the hill, the transformer losses that we have here in the valley for each of the couple hundred transformers we have here. So those are our expected losses. Internal usage at the substation that happens before the meter. The unidentified losses are unidentified. In the master plan, CCE suggested that metering issues could be on commercial establishments could be one component of that. Other things that might be included here are higher than expected losses. The transformer losses that they calculated were not based on data from our actual transformers. They were just, industry estimates. So those could be.
Could you just repeat that point? I didn't follow.
The one about transformers?
Yeah, the second point.
Okay. So when Cross Canyon estimated our losses and gave us this 8.5%, they did not look at each of our individual transformers. They simply looked at industry standard for a 25 kVA pad mounted transformer. So if we have higher than expected losses, that could play into here. It could be unmetered usage, or, usage that we're not either metering correctly or billing correctly. Those are some possibilities. It's not like water. There is not the possibility that we're leaking electricity somewhere, which sounds, it sounds funny, but it's a point that we need to make, because if there was leaking electricity, like leaking propane, we would know it would be an emergency. So it's it's a bit of an issue. Does that answer your question, Doug? Okay. All right. And so any questions on the changes there to electric before I move on to the other departments? Okay. Propane is the same format as previous years. I will point out that the August unmetered total is high. We did have a billing issue in August that we are confirming that was all the way resolved, but this 36% unmetered total for August appears unusual. It also
billing problem, it was with one customer.
there was an issue with propane for several
It
customers.
was like across the board.
Correct. So I'm just noting that so that if we are able to confirm that, I will make a note on which month it was corrected. The 16% unmetered total year to date is higher than I would expect to see it. I'm hopeful that will get resolved.
So the 57,000 unmetered for this past month does not correct from the mistake in August yet, does it?
No, it does not. A 16% unmetered total, while being a bit higher than I would normally see or, feel comfortable with, isn't high enough where I would consider, hey, we might have a problem here.
Sure.
Because as you remember, propane kind of goes positive and negative.
But what I meant to ask is that because the August is the result of a billing mistake with a small number of customers,
Sure.
there will be a correction, and the correction will, we'll see maybe even a negative loss or whatever, negative unmetered or something. There'll be some very good looking month in the future, and you said you'll flag that.
That is my
Okay,
expectation.
great, thanks.
And then if we go over and look at water and wastewater, no changes here to the format on these two either. You will note in water for September, you're seeing a high loss, 37%. This is an actual number. As we have been doing a lot of flushing on two of our wells in an effort to get those back up and running, well 2 and well 3. So when we flush water from a well, we don't have a meter on that. I have estimated that, but it is an estimate. So I expect that those numbers will come down also. And then in wastewater, the 35% in September is I&I. So you're seeing the effects of water rain that fell and is getting into our system.
The loss on water, so more than a third of what we produced was lost, flushed, let's say. But it just flushes back into the groundwater. Is that more or less fair to say?
It is fair to say. The other thing that can be reflected in this 37% is refilling of tanks. So month to month, we do have some fluctuation in tank level. So water that is flushed it goes back into the aquifer, not immediately, but eventually.
Or fire systems, if they're doing mechanical work, or we had a leak recently in one of our systems, it's lost water.
All right, and then the final thing that I'll note here is the charts
Right.
that we see here. We've made some updates on each chart. So electric usage is graphed, and it's graphed against the days in residence, because that is what typically drives more electric use, is people being here more. The same thing is true of water usage, which is the third chart there.
Yeah, gotcha.
And we continue to have our water leak correction. That's going to be a footnote. Probably not forever, but at least a couple more years. So that water usage is also tracked against days in residence. But propane, the second chart there, is tracked against temperature, because regardless of whether people are in residence, if it gets cold enough, most people are running some sort of heat. And so heat can be dependent more on temperature than days in residence. Bob, was there anything else on the changes that I missed?
Not just the other exception was the high commercial water usage.
Thank you. The high commercial water usage in August. So if you look at the chart there for August, you see a high commercial use, and that was a billing adjustment that was not transmitted here to the chart correctly. And unless there's any other questions, that's all I have on performance reporting.
Thanks, Brady. Any other questions? Okay. All right, that wraps up agenda item 9. Let's move on to agenda item 10, major project updates.
Yeah, so as I alluded to before, we're still have this open loan with Russ and CoBank. And again, if the government opens back up, then it'll hopefully free up some staff to actually get that done. Beyond that,
Sorry, Rick, where is that on the chart?
it's just a general update on
Oh, so you're not on the chart yet?
No. But for the chart itself, this is the ongoing chart. It has not changed. I think the big one obviously is the electric rate study, which hasn't begun yet. We're still trying to find an active engineer. The 218 is going to obviously hit this chart as well, that the board approved today. But that's all I have, unless there's any questions on this.
Any update on the search for the electric rate study engineer?
I've actually been talking to a couple engineers who don't do it, but are going to hopefully give me a lead for it as well. So, but I haven't gotten any responses yet.
And we talked about this, the Cross Canyon guy is not the right person for a rate study and doesn't have a referral or recommendation.
Not that I'm aware of. I talked to Dave. I haven't heard anything from Dave Riley. Yeah. So.
Is there anything anyone else, like board or community, can do to help in the search for a qualified or an appropriate electric engineer? Or do you need any help?
Not at this time. Our former general manager, who just recently attended last year, the electrical utility, I can't remember the exact acronym, but anyway, he attended the electric conference with a bunch of other utility companies. And so he's going to reach out to a couple of his networking leads from that conference to see if we can come up with somebody who can do this study for us.
What's our thinking on the timing for electric rate study? We just went through a rate study on water and wastewater. When is the right time to be looking at electric?
As soon as we find a consultant.
And what if we have a consultant right now? Would you want to be moving on it now? Or maybe what is the ideal time if we had a
The
consultant?
previous study was a 5-year study that's done in June of this next year.
Yeah.
So completing it prior to June 30.
Yeah, okay. So to be ready to have go through the process of whatever rate change we do takes effect in October 1st.
July
July
1st.
1st. Okay.
And refresh my memory, do we do a special committee for that project or what?
We can do it. I mean, I wasn't the president when we did it last time.
I just don't remember.
But I wasn't on the board last time y'all did it, so someone with that.
Last time it was done in-house.
We did it, that's right.
It was done in-house.
So maybe we could have it go, like finance could take the lead on it, or we could have a special committee on it.
Well, I mean, Bob's got domain expertise, so it seems like a special committee would be better. And
Maybe
maybe someone from finance and Bob might be a good choice to be.
I'd be happy
Yeah.
to do that. I think the minimum we want to do is a financial analysis to make sure that the numbers match against the master plan and expenses.
Does an electric rate study does that imply we do a COSA, that we do a cost allocation methodology? That's all part and parcel?
Well, you review the one that was already done.
Review it, decide to keep it or
And
change
the
it?
water and propane studies were all built off of the electric one, so it was the model for doing the allocations.
Okay,
So unless someone wants to redesign the rates, it's a verification process more than anything else.
well, redesign and allocation are two different things, but we'll certainly be redesigning the rates. We may not change the allocation method, change the rates, so that's.
Well, I don't believe we can discuss this.
Yeah,
You're right.
it's not, yeah.
We can discuss the timeline, and so I want to ask again.
Timeline is that July 1st is when that.
And so-
Done by July 1st.
Right, so in our experience, what needs to happen by, say, January or March so that we're able to be ready by July? I mean, when do we have to have this engineer starting on the project realistically if we want to be hit that goal?
So do we wanna form a electric rate study committee, subcommittee? Bob, what's your preference? I mean, you drove the whole thing last time.
I'll do whatever supports staff.
So just keep in mind, we're gonna re-elect board positions as possibly committee positions as well. So maybe if you want to create this subcommittee, you do it in December after you, assuming, I don't know who's gonna sit where, but maybe that's when you form that committee.
I mean, that's assuming that we did it as an ex officio as opposed to just saying,
Yeah, but if it's gonna run through finance, right, is what I'm hearing for the rate.
what we're saying is
Essentially.
that we can make it ex officio, that it's finance and, you know, chair of finance and
Sure.
Bob, or we could say it's just two people, like.
Yeah,
I don't think we have to wait. I hear what you're saying, like, you're not wrong, it's just,
it would be nice for that committee to report to finance committee to make a recommendation to the board.
Well, we ran,
Or
the
how do you wanna-
other thing we did was a committee, which didn't report to any other committee, right? So it can stand alone, I think.
Okay,
I like that idea, just to get.
Yeah.
A couple of people.
I mean, it's been informal right now, and Bob has been working with staff to help find the consultant, but now I feel like we're starting to get under the time crunch here where we will have lots going on with the fire assessment and this happening at the same time. So I think it makes sense. Does anyone want to support Bob? I'm happy to make an ad hoc committee and just assign two people.
I'll do it.
Anyone else?
No, let's be great.
Right, so. Remind me, former president, current vice president, what do I need to do to make a new ad hoc committee? Just magically say the words that I.
You are all powerful in this regard.
No vote
Anytime
needed.
in a board agenda, I can do it as well, like I don't have to do it during a special agenda item. Is that true?
yeah, I think so.
Okay, well then, we'll have a new ad hoc committee on the electric rate study for.
Yeah, because we have the board future activities, so. You have a line item right there to add in.
All right, so Bob and Chris will be on the.
So electric, what we call it, electric review committee.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, Eric, Rick, what else?
So I'm sorry, did you say electric rate review committee or electric review committee? How do you wanna word that for the?
I suppose adding the word rate would be.
Wait, narrow your scope a little bit.
Yeah.
You can transformers now too. Electric rate review.
Sub, or ad hoc,
Ad hoc.
ad hoc.
Temporary advisory committees is what we have.
Yeah.
Generate.
That's right, they moved it over. Got that in?
Anything else that you want to cover on major project updates?
As we were talking, I did, as of yesterday, Brandy met with the engineer who's drafting up the design for the vaporizer shed cover. And so they're working to come up with a solid design. So that's working, that's moving forward as well. That's it.
Any questions? Let's move on to agenda item 11, general manager.
Really nothing to add, other than we did have staff attend the clerk of the board conference in Santa Rosa, as well as another staff member attended a census meter, I guess, technical conference slash understanding of how the meters work and all the different codes. Melanie attended that in San Diego this week, and she came back with a lot more than what was in a desk manual. It says, okay, this blinking light's doing this, do that. So it was really worth the time and effort. So, other than that, I have nothing else to report for.
Can you
Chairman.
just relate to that? We have a census upgrade, software upgrade coming soon.
Correct. So we're actually, Terry, do you want to speak to the software update or a PCS? Or I'm assuming, or census.
Right, you had mentioned something coming up, so.
The PCS update is the one that I was mentioning.
Oh,
That's what I was
thought you had
thinking.
mentioned to me a couple months ago that the census.
They,
software.
Census itself had mentioned, our new consultant mentioned that they would at some point need to upgrade the base station at Powerhouse. But nothing else quick coming as the PCS update.
PCS is our billing software, census are meters, is that correct? So census provides a whole meter management software system, and that's what you're talking about?
The meters have a device via census that reports back to us on the different reads and so forth, which actually failed this week because the internet was down for a day and a half, which got sorted out. And I think the ultimate solution was to increase the district's internet speed to assist the flow of data going back and forth for everything. But to answer your question, there's a certain process that goes just to get a bill out. And so if there's a hiccup in one of those processes, it becomes a big problem. At the beginning of that problem is the census meter. If the data put into our system, our PCS report server is incorrect via census, then it's a chain reaction, as you can imagine. And though census works pretty well most of the time, if we get heavy snow loads, meters that are underneath houses, we can't read them, and then we have delayed readings, or if water hits a meter.
So we have to do what? You said.
We have to guesstimate the meter, for example. It just complicates things as well. So
You'll do an estimate as opposed to send somebody out to dig out snow.
exactly.
Yeah.
The census meter are how old now? They're 12?
The water meters are the oldest.
Yeah.
Those are probably 15 to 18 years old. The electric meters are
A little newer. Yeah.
And are they everywhere, or are there, I've heard talk about non-census meters, whatever that means,
I think we have a 99% of places right now.
including commercial and chairlifts and everything.
Yes.
Are you talking about electric meters or?
Electric with water, but all.
All of our systems have at least a few regular old style meters where a census meter was not
I see.
ever usable. But I think 99% is reasonable.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
No.
All right. Operations report.
Brandy, would you like to give the operations report?
Sure.
Since you're the operations manager, not the AGM or the org chart.
Well, let's see. Operations is wrapping up field operations for the summer. We have been doing a lot of field work in preparation for snow. The crews this last week were doing concrete work for G5s because the paving is now completed. The paving is done by a third party. Qualcomm comes in every year. Once they do that, we're able to get in and do any meter rings, manhole rings, any concrete work that will protect our facilities from snow removal damage over the summer. So that started this week. It will continue early next week until we get snow again.
I'm sorry, G5s, could you remind me?
Yes, G5 is the type of valve can that you'll see in the road. That's either water or propane. It's just a round lid that's, oh, yay big.
Nothing to do with wastewater.
No, manhole rings are separate, and
Paving, it means paving of Kirkwood and drive all the streets.
and the repairs that we had to do for some of our projects over the summer, like the Loop Road water main break, that was paved as part of the Qualcomm paving. We paid for that portion of it, obviously.
Thank you.
So that was done in wastewater. We have been doing some inside work too. The aeration basin, one was drained, cleaned. Diffuser heads were monitored to make sure we were in good shape for winter. The clean in place was done. So those things got done prior to winter when we expect to have heavier flows. We also have been, as I mentioned, working on wells and water pumping. So we've had an issue at well 3. It's a well that is, if it's run a lot, it can draw down to the point where it is not usable. So we have been waiting for that to recharge, running it carefully. And then on well 2, we've had it offline for probably about 6 weeks now, because of some back T tests that came back with a positive coliform. This has been offline, didn't get into the system, but it is something that we're monitoring, and you'll see our crews out there flushing that in order to get that back online. We did meet with Vail and their operations crew because, as you know, the Timber Creek snowmaking is off of our water system. Since we have these known issues right now with the wells, we just wanted to meet with them, make sure we had good lines of communication so that hopefully when the weather gets cold enough for them to make snow, we're all in good shape and able to communicate on that. And I think that's all I have.
Snow removal.
Snow removal. Staking has been done. We are fully staffed in snow removal with the exception of the mechanic, like Rick mentioned. The crews were able to get a little bit of snow removal done in the first storm, which was good because almost all of our crew is returning from last year. Of the 6 temps, 5 of them are returnees from last year. 2 of them are returnees with multiple years of experience, which is really great for us. The one new staff member we have for snow removal came on earlier this summer for us as a summer laborer. So we've been kind of bringing him up to speed along the way. But he was one of the ones that got to move snow in the first snowstorm. So we're pleased with the way that's going.
For fire, there were a total of 6 calls, I believe, for the last month. Most of them were alarm-related calls. And probably the most important thing that happened in fire, other than there were a few on-call shifts that were only one person available to respond. Luckily, we didn't have any calls except for one that got canceled. So staffing levels kind of bouncing along, but we hope it'll increase. But again, the notable one is that we now have all our active volunteers Title 22 first aid certified. Everybody's completed the course except for someone's got to do a little online stuff, but it's nice to have everybody at certain first aid, CPR, professional level skill set for the department. So there's a lot of effort behind the scenes going on to attend the classes on the line as well as the Saturday class. So I really appreciate the efforts the volunteers made to get that certification through Upskill. And because that course was so successful, we're going to continue to work with Sherry with Upskill and bring her back on a quarterly basis to review EMS operations and give us updates on equipment and or on practicing first aid and some of the things we did. So it was very positive. But that's all I have for fire.
So just because I was curious, we have 2020 hourly read meters and 78 manual read, which so 96%, you're quite close.
Yeah.
I saw you thinking about that.
Yeah. It was up there. We're going to narrow it down. We're going to make it 100% someday.
Never said because they're different utilities, right? That's water.
What?
The number is so big compared to our 600 or 700 customers because of different utilities.
Yeah, most people have at least 3 meters.
Right.
Yeah.
And that include, your numbers include commercial.
Yeah, it's all revenue meters is what I look at.
Cool. Okay, thank you. Anything else for operations?
You knew I would do that, right? Yeah.
I will echo what Rick said earlier on the org chart. We are thrilled to have fully staffed operations. We have some really good people in place and just really happy about the moves we've made there.
Good. Thank you.
Let's move on to standing committee reports. Start with finance.
No, nothing to
DOP, Peter?
nothing really to add. Our next meeting is next Wednesday and.
Well, I would add that the major problem we have is we're collecting 2.5%, and there's no demand for it, and so we're just accumulating money.
Public benefits charge.
The public benefits charge. So I think as part of the rate study, we should try to find out what are our options. Because it's an inefficient use of funds. It's not benefiting anybody. One solution is to make, right now, our current structure is consistent with other utilities. We could be inconsistent and have really big cash projects, but I don't know that that's a good, I don't know what the demand is for it. I don't know if that's even a proper use of funds, but
I remember my chair planning, we looked over, and I'm sure it's in a written report, but we looked at the many other options that one could consider that we did not endeavor to. So there are lots of options that you could consider that aren't necessarily, one of them was like cutting losses in the system, like.
It's not clear to me that that's a legal use of those funds.
Okay. Seemed like it was at the time.
I don't know. I'm not gonna pretend that I'm gonna learn.
Right.
How? I think one possibility is we make that part of the rate study. Or see whether it's legal to say, when you have an abundance of funds and no demand, can you stop collecting? Just, right? I mean, because the utility is so small that it's just the typical programs that don't match at all. So I don't have a solution. There's some ideas in the committee, but it's silly to collect 2.5% that isn't going to be utilized, and it'd be silly to not use it efficiently. Yeah, between those, I don't know what to do. Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Well, it's not good, that's what it is. Well,
It is what it is, but thank you.
yeah. Do you agree, Peter?
Yeah, if there's some consultant or some expert on this subject, that could give us some advice would really help. I don't know where to look. Do you, Bob?
I don't know how to pay for it.
Okay, how to pay for it?
There are consultants everywhere.
Yeah.
So anyway.
There's been some talk about flying up to EV charging, which I don't know if that's.
I totally doubt that that's the intent of the charge.
I mean, I think that's.
And the district doesn't do any EV charging.
Well, if we could apply those funds to promoting some EV charging.
I'm just starting a conversation here, and just saying this is now turning into a conversation about how to spend PVC, and I do not want to do that.
So
So
I'm just reporting.
thank you for reporting that that is a topic that you were considering, and I encourage you to continue to come up.
It's frustrating.
Thank you.
It is on the agenda for Wednesday.
Yeah.
So still saw that.
Wednesday.
All right, communications, nothing more that's in the board packet. Personnel did not meet. IT and cybersecurity.
We met, we're working on both the implementation of some of the security members we identified, and then the unreliability of some of the internal systems, which don't affect revenue, but they certainly affect productivity.
Okay. Temporary advisory committees. Bob, do you have anything to report on the electric rate study, rate review committee's?
Our first meeting has been spent. It's been over an hour.
Rick, do you need any advisory committee for 218 for fire and emergency services, or do you want to run that through patients or thinking about it? Think about it.
I think communications should meet first to discuss how we're gonna report out on that. And then I'll work with Ed to initiate it.
Great. Work study. I had two things for this. One is just to congratulate our directors who were just sworn in before this meeting on their new 4-year terms. So it's Bob, Peter, and John sworn in for the term starting at sometime in December. And then just as a reminder to everyone that one of the agenda items, given that statement in December, one of the agenda items will be discussing board, directors and our seats, and then committee as well. So that would be another topic. So I'm ready, prepared to discuss that in December. What makes you think that I have for general board discussion? Anything else anyone has? Otherwise, we will adjourn and we'll see everyone on Friday, December 2nd. Oh, sorry, Friday, December 5th at 2 p.m.
And again at 5.
All right.
And again at 5.
All right. See you later. Bye. So again, I'm sorry.
Yes.